Bang, and we're on. Welcome back to the Construction Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm Dean Barton, the place all about construction, growing your business, making more money, being more profitable, and really look, there's the fucking honest, straight, brutal truth of the shit that you need to know. And it's the shit that I wish I knew when I started when I was younger. I've been in the industry 20 years, been through it and done the whole fucking thing, whether it's commercial work, residential work, building a team, scaling a business. That's my experience. So the place to get help, this episode is all about growing your team. Your team is going to be the biggest factor to your success. The people around you, the people you've got in your business, growing a team. How to do that, because it's really fucking difficult to get the right people with the right attitudes. It's really difficult. And before we kick in, by the way, this episode is out on all the platforms. So Apple, Spotify, a few of the other bollocky ones that I don't know what they're all about. I don't know who doesn't have an iPhone, but whatever, everyone's different. Also on YouTube as well, the video goes out all the time. And basically these episodes, I will pick a different topic each episode. And it's just very quick, sharp, to the point, what you need to know. I don't like fluff, I don't like just filler. I want you guys to go to bang in, tune into an episode and go, boom, that's the title, that's what I'm going to learn, off you go. Now, when it comes to your team, the very, very first thing that I say to everyone, and something that I learned as well, is that before you even think about building and growing a great team, you've got to be fucking good yourself. You cannot be a shit leader and expect to grow a great team. Get that fucking right in your head first. Your weaknesses is anyone else's in your team, any team member. That is their excuse, that is their get out. You cannot be a shit leader and expect to cultivate a really good culture, energy, fucking desire, want and hunger from a team if you don't have that yourself. So you have to be a great leader first. And it's always the people that are very shit themselves and there's holes in themselves first, moaning about not attracting and not getting the right people in their business. Well, you've got to start with the foundation, because you as a leader, if you are late, if you are messy, if you miss things, if you are, you avoid conflict, you avoid certain conversations, you don't organise things, you are, there's holes in you in those basic areas. And don't get this confused with, look, you hire people to close your own skill gap. You're not going to be good at everything, but as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you've got to have your hand on a lot of different things. The point I'm trying to get across is, yes, you do hire staff to do certain elements of jobs. You're not going to be amazing in accounts. That's why you hire a head of accounts person. You're not going to be amazing at maybe marketing, so you hire a marketing company. But I am talking about basic fucking organizational and strengths and skill sets as a leader. Doesn't mean being an expert in all the different areas of the business. It means, are you fucking on time? Are you fucking direct with people? Are you a good communicator with people? Are you, do you tell the truth to people all the time? Are you a bullshitter? You're a fucking liar. There's a lot of bullshitters out there, and then they expect people to be honest back with them. And it's that you can't expect what you don't give and what you don't convey yourself. Like, are you fucking overweight? Are you a mess? Have you rolled out of bed yourself and you look like a fucking tramp? If you're trying to expect a standard from someone, whatever that standard is, you need to fucking show that standard yourself first. First and foremost, let's get that fucking really crystal clear. Whatever you expect from people, you've got to be the don at it yourself. You've got to be undeniable at it yourself, all right? So before you even think about growing a team, let's get that absolutely locked in first. If you're expecting something from someone now and you're not doing it yourself, you're a fucking hypocrite, and you are going to be pissing in the fucking wind trying to grow a team to elevate to that standard yourself. So you've got to set the tone as a leader. And look, guess what? That's the responsibility of running a business. That's what you signed up for. This is what it is. If you want to be a fucking businessman, you want to be an owner, a leader, and wear the hat of I'm an entrepreneur, then you have got to set the fucking tone and be the man that people look up to, they respect, and they want to work for in the first place. Or woman, if you're listening to this, you have got to be the person, undeniable, because the minute they see a crack in you, and I'm talking like you know, on a micro level, if someone's going on, like a job's gone wrong and you need to speak to a client, right? And you're putting it off, you are making that acceptable to everyone else in the business. If you know that you need to pull a lad because he's not working right, you know, he's not delivering on time, he's maybe rude to a customer, and you're ignoring it, all your other staff, team members, they're watching that and they're witnessing that. And that is then making that attitude and that way of work acceptable. So then that filters down to the micro level. When you're not on site, the lads are left to themselves. It's like, well, if you don't give a shit as the owner, why should they give a shit? And it infests like a fucking cancer, and it just grows over time. And this is where people, a lot of the times when I look at people's businesses and I help them out, and I look at it from a bird's eye view, and you go, like, the issues are starting, it starts small. All these little problems start small and it filters out as a team. And the bigger you get as a business, you have to be really aware of all this shit, that you've got to start really strong from the top. It is the foundation of you as the owner. And people are looking to hire people to solve all their basic problems. Well, you've got to solve all your basic shit first. You have got to be the man. You've got to show up on time. You've got to look the part. You've got to communicate. You've got to be on the ball. You've got to know your numbers. You've got to be organised, you've got to be ahead, you've got to be fucking prepared. You know, be the standard first as you as the owner. And if you can't do that, if you haven't got the skill sets to do that, then go and fucking work on that first. Work on you first. Get yourself to the best level you can. And then you can think about growing a team and building a team. That's where it all starts, okay? So, with that being said, I think you get my point or get my drift. Once you've got to that point, then you look at building a team, and your team members have to be, I go for a filtering process, and it's called GWC. And the reason is that when I understand of being on this podcast and speaking to you guys and actually training you and you're watching this stuff, you need frameworks to easily remember and understand it. It's a way of learning. It's something I've learned of how to teach people properly. GWC, if you just remember that, GWC. And what that stands for is, do your staff members get it? Do they want it? And have they got the capacity to actually do the job that you're asking them to do? So get it, want it, capacity, GWC. So let's start with the first one. Do they get it? Now, what I mean by that is, do your staff members actually get it? So you can do this going along listening to this. Write it down on a bit of paper. Do they get it? And you know, you will know what staff members you've got issues with at the minute. What holes you've got, and the first thing is, does each staff member, doesn't matter what job role they're in, whether they're a fucking cleaner, a labourer, an apprentice, or a highly skilled, highly paid engineer, designer, whatever it is for your fucking business, level one, do they get it? And by that I mean, do they get, you know, what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve, what the company vision is, you know? And let's make this really simple. The people that don't get it are the people that come across a problem and go, well, that's not my problem, it's someone else's job. They don't fucking get it. They don't get it. They don't get what you're trying to do. Those types of people are the wrong fucking people, so they shouldn't be in your fucking business. Even more so when you're a small business, you've maybe got 4 or 5 guys or 2 or 3 people in the office, up to sort of 15 people in an office. Once it goes above that, you're then turning into more of a corporate-y, bigger organisation, and there's a bit more room for people to hide, which sounds shit, but it's just the way it is as you scale and you get bigger. There just is more room to hide. You know, bigger companies, you know, look at huge companies when there's thousands of employees. People hide all the time and they don't really do a fucking day's work. They hide behind the system. But for you guys listening to this, as a smaller business, you know, you're just getting your first few guys, or you've got 10 or 15 people, whatever. There is nowhere to hide. You cannot hide. Everyone's got to row in the same direction. Everyone's got to be, you know, if you imagine that rowing boat, if one person's pulling the oars in the wrong direction, it's fucking up the flow of everything. So there's nowhere to hide. So every single person needs to get it. They need to get what you're trying to do. They need to be fully on board as part of the team. And if they just don't get that, there is no place for them in your business. Like, regardless of how good they are at their job of delivery, they've got to fucking go. They've got to fucking go. If they just don't get it, that everything's got to be delivered on time, things need to be done now. There's a knock-on effect of not doing things. There's a knock-on effect of not giving a shit. There's a knock-on effect of maybe rolling up late all the time, or fucking stinking of booze. It's very common in construction, or having a fag break every 5 minutes, and it's, you know, you might have told them the job needs to be done in 2 days, and they're fucking having a fag all the time and putting the brakes on and packing up their tools at 3 o'clock, or the office staff are not dealing with stuff there and then and dealing with it and going, well, I'll make a note and then someone else can deal with it. This is what I mean by get it. Like the very base level of like, if they just don't fucking get it, fuck off, get them out. And the fear bubble that people have is the worry of losing people because they don't know who else is going to do it. And the longer you stay in that trap, you're fucked. So if they just don't get it, you've got to get people out. You've got to be ruthless and just get them out. It will cost you longer and more fucking money in the long run if you don't deal with this and get ahead of it. If people just don't get it, you cannot train that. You can't train the skill set of giving a shit and just being like in the game and wanting it and get it. So that's level one. If they don't pass that test, they don't get it, get them out. They're not the right staff member for the business. Then the next level is want it. So we're on the W of the GWC. Do they want it? Do they actually want to work hard? You know, do they want to be an achiever? Do they want to do a good job? You know, because some people just don't. Some people just don't give a fuck. They're just there for a paycheck on a Friday or the end of the month, whatever. It's a transactional process of working for the company, which that's not what you need, especially again when you're small, when you're trying to build something, you're trying to scale. You know, there's a lot of moving parts to construction. It's constantly moving. There's a lot of shit to get right. And if you've got someone who's just not hungry for it, they just don't want it, they're not the right people. They've got to want to do well and get recognition. You want people that are going to go the extra mile. They're going to achieve. They know that, you know, they might have to stay late to get things done. There's no questions asked. And it's none of this like, well, I stayed 15 minutes late last Tuesday, so I want to go at 3 o'clock today because you owe me. You know, and all this bullshit. This is just fucking horseshit that I think has been made even worse by COVID, where everyone's got expectations of standards and, well, I should work from home and I should fucking get this and I should get this and the me. Whereas, you know, I think we're losing this whole thing of like, you should be fucking grateful for the job you've got and want it and do more. And the more that people do, then the more you're going to reward them in the long run. So they've got to be minded like that. You know, if you've got someone who just doesn't want it, you can't mold that. You can't instill that into people. You've got to want it yourself, and each staff member's got to want it, okay? If they don't do that, again, they've got to go. They've got to go. If they just don't want more, they're not hungry for stuff, you know, they just don't want it, get them out. Get them out. You've got to get them out, okay? If someone doesn't take pride and care in their day's work, get them out. They're not good for your business. They're never going to be great to customers, and they're never going to allow you to grow the business you want, and they're never ever going to allow you to step away from the business because you haven't got people you can rely on. They just want it. Firstly, they get it and they want it and they want to do a good job, so you know you can rely on them. They've got to want it. And then lastly, level 3 is capacity. It's all about capacity. Now, this is more in the sense of leadership and delegation. Like, you've got to understand that some people just don't have a capacity, and you need people with capacity. What do I mean by that? I mean that some people flap. The minute you put more than one thing on them, they flap and they crumble. And you as a business owner, you need people that you can put stuff on, not take the piss out of them, but you need to be able to say to them, look, I need you to handle this, and this. And they've got the mental capacity to deal with that, because some people, they just crumble. You know, one thing goes wrong on site, everything's a nightmare, everything's a problem. They can't problem solve. They can't fucking get over hurdles. That's not what you need. Otherwise, you're going to be on site every 5 minutes. You're going to be on the phone every 5 minutes, talking them through, quite frankly, fucking common sense, which common sense isn't actually that common. So finding people with capacity is a rarity. And if you find someone who gets it, wants it, and has got capacity, you have got a fucking A player you need to keep and nurture and build into your team and reward, because they are rare and they're hard to find. That being said, they're out there. They are out there, but sometimes you've got to go through a few fucking lemons to get to the fruit that you really want and the people you really want in your business. But they've got to have the capacity. Same in the office, you know, and when shit goes wrong, when a customer phones up aggravated, something's gone wrong, a delivery's late, you know, something's broken, something's fucking not turned up on time, something's just generally gone tits up, which happens all the time in construction. You've got to have people with the capacity to be able to go, okay, that's a problem. Here's what we're going to do. Bang, bang, bang. Off you go. They've got a capacity to deal with it, you know, and it's crazy what you see, you know. Some people, you load them up with one or two things, and everything goes fucked. And I've had this before with project managers. You know, you take someone on, stick them on one job just to focus on, and they're fantastic. But give them 2 or 3 big jobs to run, and they can't handle the stress, that the multitude of things that you might have to organise 30 things in a day, juggle plates, deal with the unknowns, waiting to hear back from people, got to set up meetings, you know, because it is constantly moving. You know, sometimes you are waiting for stuff down to the wire in construction, and you know, you are dealing with a lot of unknowns, and you're just fucking taking it as it comes. It's a brutal game to be in if you can't handle it and you haven't got the capacity, especially on site as well. You know, you got lads that might be asked requests from customers, or demands are changed, deadlines are changed, shit's in the way, you know, and you've got to redo. A prime example is doing work in a different order than what the plan was, which always happens. But sometimes that throws people off. They're like, well, we thought we were going to be doing this first, but materials haven't turned up, there's been a delay, and you've got to do something else first. That can really fuck with people, and they just haven't got the capacity to overcome and adapt, and they've got to have capacity. So that is your framework, guys. Get it, want it, got the fucking capacity. If your people don't match that, there is room for improvement. You need to recruit and resource better people, okay? Now, once you understand that and you're clear on that, if you think about what I said, right, level 1, get yourself fucking sharp and switched on first. You're in the fucking driving seat, you know exactly what's going on. You're the best leader that you can be, and you're developing and you're constantly improving on you being a leader. Step 1. Step 2, you go through your current staff. GWC, do they get it? Do they want it? Have they got the capacity? Now, if they haven't, getting rid of them is the biggest hurdle people face. I said earlier, it's a fear thing. It's a fear of, well, who's going to do it if not? The thing that I've learned is that when you get rid of people, you make room for the right people. And yes, you might have to go through a bit of pain and a bit of suffering to struggle, and you might have to go through a process maybe of going, well, once this job is finished, or this job's finished, or that job's finished, I can then let them go because then I've got this person. You'll be amazed at what opens up when you close a door. And sometimes closing that door is the hardest thing in the world. But when you're just in it and you know you've got staff that they're not right, and you're just putting up with it, you're not making room for new staff to come in because you're just fucking staying in a comfort zone and making do. But the longer you do that, you're not progressing, you're never going to have a really good team, and there's always going to be issues, and you're always going to have to micro fucking manage, which is not what you want as a business owner. At some point, you want to get to a point where you've got people you can rely on, they get on with it and they crack on, and you've got other people developing as well throughout the team, and everyone's on the same page. So you've got to make room, and it's more just a mindset thing. You know, I did it for a long time with a certain member of staff who was actually a friend, you know, close, had a long relationship with, but just didn't get it, you know, and just didn't understand what we were trying to do with the business, always created problems, really difficult for me. I remember it clearly, you know, I came home fucked off because he'd really upset some other members of the team and the staff. And it was becoming a real issue. It was just a person that didn't get it and just didn't have the capacity to do more. And I came home, I went for a run, and I was like, right, I need to just think about this. What am I going to do? And it just got to a point, and I was like, I've just got to let him go. I've got to let him go. And I didn't want to do it because, like I said, I knew him personally. I liked him as a person outside of it. We'd done a lot of things together in a personal sense as well. But for the greater good of the business and the team, it was the right decision to let him go. So on my run, I went through it all, played through it all, and I was like, I've got to let him go. Came home, went to bed, and I knew as soon as I got in the office the next day, I need to have that conversation. And called him in straight away, had the conversation. He went fucking tits, couldn't fucking believe it. And it caused a massive problem for me at the time. He was doing 2 or 3 complicated jobs, didn't have anyone else to manage them. It was a project manager role at the time. But I did it, and you know what? The instant energy change in the office, we had a team of 15 at the time. The energy change was fucking hell. Dino's done it, he's fucking gone. Because everyone sort of subconsciously knew that he was wrong anyway. But no one ever said it. Do you know what I mean by that? And you'll probably experience a bit of this. And the atmosphere in the office straight away was like, fucking hell, brilliant. What a nice, calmer thing. It actually not scared everyone else, but it made them realise that no one's invincible. So it made everyone else buck their ideas up a little bit as well. And I had 3 or 4 members of staff going, do you know what, I'm so glad you've done that, because I was really intimidated by him. I was really always a bit anxious around him and a bit unsteady around him. So it raised the whole fucking energy in the office. And what happened was other people actually stepped up and said, well, I can help out with that job that he was running. I can do this, I can do that. And it brought the team closer together. And then the next week I had interviews with other people and then quickly replaced him and got rid of him, and it was more the apprehension of getting rid of someone was the hardest thing. But it's just one of those weird things that once you make room for something, then nature or the world or whatever just creates, when you've done the right thing, you open the doors to other people and everyone else rolls their sleeves up. And that's what you want from a team. You want from a team that when something happens or a decision's been made by the leader, by the boss, that everyone mucks in to solve it. And I think that fear bubble is the biggest thing that I've found speaking to a lot of other business owners. It's just the fear of loss, of going, well, who's going to do it? And sometimes when you know in your gut it's the wrong people, they're shit, they're more problems for you than they are fucking results and good for you, you've got to let them go. And just stepping over that line and getting rid of them will open up the doors. Now, once you do that, it's easier to attract good talent. And this goes back to a lot of other things of having a great brand, having a great reputation in the marketplace for your business. It's a lot easier to attract talent. Now, what I would say is, for me, talent-wise, I never ever stop looking for talent. Doesn't matter where I'm at in business, what stage I'm at, I'm always looking for talent everywhere I go. So I will always meet someone who could be a potential. I don't need them now. I think this is what people do with recruitment, is that you go, shit, I need someone, and then you struggle when you try and find someone. So you do a fucking shit 2-minute job post on a fucking, LinkedIn or a job board site, or you speak to a fucking recruiter and you just panic to get someone. You always want to be looking for people ahead of when you need them. So I'm always looking for the next person, and that could be anywhere. I will go into a coffee shop, and if someone serves me nicely behind the bar, I will register them and go, do you know what? They could be a great admin person. They could be a great this or that. Or you meet someone else down the gym, or you meet someone else fucking in the pub and you go, I really like them as a person. This is what they do. And I store it and I remember it. So you're always building a database of people that you could potentially have work for you ahead of when you need them. That's the mindset that you want to be in as an owner. You're actually just a recruitment business. If you step out of it a little bit, whatever business you're in construction, whatever you do, all you actually are is a recruitment business. You've got to win the work, and then you need to recruit staff to deliver the work. So the better you get at recruitment, the more work you can take on, the more you can deliver, the more you can handle. So always be in recruitment mode ahead of time. So think about where you're at now, and there could be multitude of different people, but let's do the different 2 sides. You could be a guy, it's you on your own at the minute. You've got a couple of guys working with you, or you could already have an office of 5 people. You need to be thinking, right, I'm going to need an extra 5 people in the next 12 months or 18 months or 3 years. What job roles are they? You need to be looking for them now ahead of time. And this is the biggest thing that will change. The moment you do need them, life's going to be a lot easier for you, because then you're not just looking in a panic all the time. You've got to be recruiting all the time. So for you, if you know you're going to need an admin person in 6 months, a year's time, you need to be looking for that person now and paying attention to the right type of person who's got the skill sets, who's got the attitude, that they're the type of person you understand, they get it, they want it, and they've got the capacity to do that job. You need to start thinking about that now of people you know, because everyone's connected to someone. Like every single relationship you've got, someone knows someone who can do whatever job role you're trying to fill in now. And they're all out there. And the thing you've got to remember is that anyone who's good, they're in work. They're not sat at home twiddling their thumbs waiting for you to pick up the phone or put a job advert up and go, I'm looking for a highly skilled carpenter. I'm looking for a project manager. I'm looking for a head of accounts. They're already in a job. They're already in work. If they weren't, they'd be dog shit and they'd be on the dole. So you've got to think, right, how do you actually play this game smarter to attract the right talent? And it is exactly that. You've got to have a great brand, a great company, a great reputation, but it's always going to come back to you as a person, because they're working for the person. People aren't actually working for the company, they're working for you. The person listening to this, whoever you are, people are attracted to good bosses and they stick to good bosses. People leave bad bosses. Anyone in a job who's left a job is because they've left because of shit management and a shit boss. So, my first point, getting you on point. If you're not on point, no one's going to want to fucking work for you. So you've got to be on point. So, how does that play out? Every single person that you meet, you're nice to them, you're good to them, you're inquiring, you're inquisitive, and it's in your mind that you are on the hunt looking for people with that in mind, and you're building relationships over time so that when you do need someone, you've got 2 or 3 people you could phone because you've got connections and you know people. Like, and this is a relationship thing, and I'll do a whole fucking podcast on relationships, because this whole business is fucking relationships. It's all about relationships. If you've got great relationships with subcontractors, they know other subcontractors, they know other people they can phone. If you've got great relationships with family members, friends, acquaintances, people down the gym, people at the golf club, whatever it is you do, if you're great, you're a good person, you've got good relationships, you've got people you can phone. So my default mode whenever I need someone as a member of staff is, who do I know? Go through the phone book and who can I ring and go, do you know anyone? That's going to be a far greater in. If you think about it, if someone phones you completely cold, or there's a in the eyes of someone looking to come and work for you, and there's a job advert completely cold, they've never known the company or you before, that's a lot harder position to go from versus a previous colleague, a member of the family, or a friend phoning someone and going, oh, my friend is looking for this job. I thought you might be interested. You know, it's always nice to have a link. It's always nice to have a great relationship with someone, and you trust relationships. You know, people always want to work with people they know, they like, they trust. So you've got to be built in that mindset of looking for people now, today, way before you need them. And that will make your recruitment life so much easier. And as soon as that person comes in and interviews them, you've got to be thinking, right, GWC, do they get it? Do they want it? Have they got the capacity? All right, so I hope that helps. I hope that really makes that clear on recruitment and how you actually go about it a bit differently. That is my framework for really getting solid people in the business. And look, guys, look, you've just got to get your head around this. You've got to be ruthless. You cannot train that stuff. You can train what the actual fucking job is. You can train some bird how to fucking send an email, you know, what email you want them to send, how you want the accounts organised. You know, you can train a lad, right, this is how I want you to deliver the work, the skill, the bit, the doing, the physical shit. But you cannot train personality types. You will always be slamming your dick in a door trying to train someone's personality and make them something they're not. You cannot change someone's DNA, their fucking mind, their blueprint in their head. You cannot train the values of people, which that's what this all comes back to. GWC is basically a values thing, because some people just don't give a fuck. They're just out for themselves. They don't value you, your time, your business, you know, and it's down to the micro level again of, like, you know, if you speak to a lad, and I've had this before, and they roll their eyes at you, they just don't give a fuck. So get them the fuck out. You can't retrain that. You can have a stern word with them, but it'll go in one ear, out the other, and they'll go go back to default again. You can't retrain personality types. And this is what it is. The whole GWC thing is personality types. Are they the right fit for the company? Once you get that bit right, training the skill set and the processes, the systems, how you want things done is easy because they're the right person to train. But you cannot train a dick to be a fucking good egg. Like, it just doesn't work. So you have to start with the basics first, basic human psychology first, then the skills and the fucking doing the jobs, the actual easy bit. Whereas people look at it and go, oh, are they skilled first? But they're the wrong person. They don't get it. They don't want it. They haven't got the capacity to deal with it. So flip it on its head. Flip it on its head. Get that from this podcast. You've got to flip on its head. GWC, and you'll be in a fucking much easier, better place for recruitment. So I hope that helps, guys. Like I say, this podcast is out on all platforms. You can follow me on social media. It's Dean Barton Real, at Dean Barton Real, Instagram and YouTube. These podcasts are going out weekly on different topics. So if you're in the game of growing your business, you actually give a shit about growing a decent sized business that's profitable, it's a well-oiled machine, and it's actually a business that gives you the life that you want, this is the fucking place. So I would appreciate any feedback you have got. Drop me a line. It's always positive to hear back from you guys and get actual live feedback because, you know, for me, I'm chatting to a camera, I'm chatting to a microphone, I'm spouting off what I know. It's just great to get feedback back from you guys. So I'll be really interested. Drop me a DM. I am a real person. I am a real egg. I do reply back to people. It'd be great to hear back to you. So that is it. I'll see you on the next one. Boom.